648 at WBAP. Ambassador Ido Aharoni, the Consul General of Israel, joins us right now on WBAP. It is an honor to have him with us. And Mr. Ambassador, thank you for joining us. And let's start with the big question. When it comes to Israel and Hamas and the disagreement that is going on right now, can we find a peaceful solution to this issue?
Excellent question. Good morning. I'd like our listeners to know that unlike the conflict that Israel has with the Palestinian national movement, which can be settled, that there's a deal to be made, a territorial deal, the conflict that we have with Hamas, which is no different than Al-Qaeda, no different than ISIS, no different than Islamic Jihad, is not a national conflict by nature. It's an inter-civilizational conflict. Hamas is not interested in reaching a compromise. Their demands are not territorial. Their demands are more cultural, if you may, even religious. They're not about creating a viable Palestinian economy or future. They're about Islamic rule, and they're about killing all the Jews. They're about anti-Western sentiment. All you have to do is just read their charter. They do an extreme effort to live by it. So the kind of conflict that we have with them is not the conflict that most people talk about, which is the conflict we have with the Palestinian national movement.
Mr. Ambassador, then yesterday we hear comments from former President Jimmy Carter, who essentially says that Hamas is a legitimate political actor, and called on the United States and called on Israel to recognize them as that. That's got to be a little disheartening for the Israelis.
Well, Israel is not Hamas's biggest problem when it comes to world recognition. Let me remind our listeners that Hamas is labeled and recognized as a terrorist organization by the United States, by the European Union, by the United Nations, by Russia, and also by Israel. The entire international community, with the exception of a few countries like Iran, and Qatar do not recognize Hamas, as a former president said, as a legitimate organization. It's not a legitimate organization. It's an organization that wants to kill us, not just Israelis, Americans too. And we have to understand it. They want us dead.
If it is in fact a terrorist organization recognized as one by the United States, why then would the U.S. president pick up the phone and ask Benjamin Netanyahu to back off? Would Mr. Netanyahu ever call the United States and say, hey, listen, we need you to back off of Al-Qaeda?
Well, I'm sure that, the relationship between Israel and the United States, despite and contrary to all reports, are stronger than ever. The level of cooperation, I can say this as someone who's been serving the Israeli government for over 20 years. I can personally attest to the fact that the depth and the scope of the cooperation, especially on intelligence, is unprecedented. Unprecedented. Let me give you one example. We deployed during this confrontation a system known as the Iron Dome system.
Oh, yes.
What is the Iron Dome system? It's a highly sophisticated technological rocket system that allows us to intercept midair a number of missiles waged at Israel, launched against Israel. Our listeners should know that the Iron Dome system was developed. It's a joint venture by Israel and the United States. We could not have done it without the help of this administration and previous administrations.
You have pulled back ground troops, and by the way, Ambassador Ido Aharoni is with us, the Consul General of Israel. You have pulled back ground troops out of Gaza. Will they return?
If necessary, yes. We were very clear about the goals of this operation. The cabinet, which is Israel's commander-in-chief, instructed the Israeli military to go into Gaza and to take out two systems that each represented a strategic threat to our people. The first was the rocket system. The Hamas was able to amass a stockpile of no less than 12,000 rockets and missiles. They put 2/3 of Israel's population in bomb shelters for nearly a month. Imagine 200 million Americans spending their entire summer in bomb shelters. This is something unacceptable. Mm-hmm. And the second directive was to take out the massive network of tunnels that the Hamas was able to build, nearly 1,000 tunnels, some of them penetration tunnels, well equipped. They poured billions of dollars worth of concrete into those tunnels instead of using those resources to build universities and hospitals and bomb shelters. I have to tell you, in the last 6 years since Hamas took over in Gaza, they did not spend a dime on building a new hospital or a new university. Not even one bomb shelter was built for the Gazans. All the money went into the creation of this offensive penetration tunnel system.
Mr. Ambassador, thanks for the time. Best of luck in your efforts to find peace for your people. Thank you.
And thank you for your friendship. Thank you.
There you go. That is Ambassador Ido Aharoni, the Consul General